Hello BookTube! Welcome to Lizzie Faye Loves Books. I'm Elizabeth, and this is my TBR Takedown 3.0 wrap-up. TBR Takedown readathons are hosted by Shannon from Leading Lights, and I will link her channel down below. The TBR Takedown 3.0 was from January 4th to January 10th, and there were 7 challenges. And I'm happy to say that I met all 7 challenges and read a book for each challenge. Now, 2 of them were audiobooks, and some of them were short, but still I am excited about my success, and I want to share with you what I read. Now, originally I was planning to double up a couple of the challenges and count a book for 2 different challenges, but as the week progressed I realized that I didn't really have to, so I ended up having a book for each challenge. Challenge number 1 was to read a book from your most recent haul. So originally I was going to choose this by C.S. Lewis. This is The Great Divorce, and also count this for read a book out of your comfort zone. The synopsis of this says, take a fantastic ride through heaven and hell. And I thought this might be a little out of the comfort zone of fun things that I like to read, but something that will probably be very thought-provoking, so I should probably read this and count this for the book out of my comfort zone. I think this book would be considered allegory. It's kind of a illustration of what it might be like in the afterlife if you are faced with, looking back at your past deeds and then given one more opportunity to choose good or not, and the narrator is, he's there, he's either dreaming or he has died, and he is watching how all these other people that have come upon the afterlife, what kind of choices they are making, and many of them are given the opportunity to yet again choose the right path, and they either do or they don't. And so it's very interesting to see the choices that people make, kind of looking from the outside, and things that might be blatantly obvious to the reader, and you're looking at, you're just kind of telling these people who are faced with these decisions, come on, do the right thing, and they're just stubborn and strong-willed and can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And it's I thought it was very good. The title is very misleading. It doesn't have anything to do with a marital divorce at all. It's the divorce between good and evil, I suppose, and so I guess that's the meaning of that in this context. It was a very good book. I would definitely recommend it. Kirsten Jonora Renfroe also has a review of this book on her channel, and I will link that down below, where she's the one I first heard talking about it and made me want to read it. So I picked it up at a book sale, and I'm glad I read it. Then when I started looking to find something to listen to in my car, I remembered that I had picked this up in my November-December book haul, and it's on cassette, which is what works in my car, is cassettes. I know it's antiquated, but there's a lot of great literature available on cassette for very cheap. And it's the first Nancy Drew book, The Secret of the Old Clock by Carolyn, Keene. I've read this one more than once. It's a really quick read. It's unabridged on 2 cassettes, so it's very short. And I listened to it in my car, and then I realized, wait, this is from my most recent haul, so I can count this for the first challenge, and just count The Great Divorce for the other challenge. So that's what I did. If you're not familiar with Nancy Drew, her father's a lawyer. She is about 17, 18 years old. And this is Nancy's first mystery. What happens in this book is she comes in contact with several different really nice people who are friends of a gentleman who has passed away. And this particular gentleman had made some promises and said that he was going to remember them in his will. And then but the people, the family that he lived with at the time, came forth with a will, of course, leaving everything to them and nothing for any of these other folks who had been promised something. Well, her heart goes out to all these other people who are really nice people, and of course the people who have this will are not very nice. So Nancy sets about to see if there is another will. It's a great first mystery story. It's a great series for young readers, and I would highly recommend it. If you have youngsters in your life that you think would be interested in mysteries, I would recommend it. My own daughter, I think, read one Nancy Drew. I don't know if she read this one or a different one. I'm not sure. And she couldn't really get into it. It's very dated. the Nancy doesn't have a cell phone or a computer or anything like that. So it's, these original Nancy Drew stories are dated. So you just have to go into it knowing that it's historical fiction, basically, and it's fun. The next challenge was to read a book on your TBR shelf that's been there longer than a year. I have not owned this book longer than a year, but I have wanted to read it longer than a year. This is The Strange Case of Origami Yoda by Tom Angleberger. I picked this up at the Scholastic Warehouse sale. That was one of my first book hauls, probably my first book haul that I did on BookTube, and I just thought it looked really cute and really fun, and I was right. I enjoyed this a lot. So I went right on then and read the next one. This is the second in the series, so I counted this for my sequel book, which was another one of the challenges on the TBR Takedown. This was the last book I read for the week when I started realizing that I was going to have time to read a book for all of the challenges, and this is really short. It's a middle grade book. It has a lot of graphics, and it's the font's pretty good sized. So it really reads quickly. Now what this series is about is a boy named Dwight has a Yoda made from origami. He puts Yoda on his finger, and people ask Yoda questions, and Yoda answers them. Now Dwight says that the answers are not coming from him, they're coming from Yoda, and some of the answers that Yoda gives the kids seem to be very wise, and when they take Yoda's advice, they end up having really good results. So the main character, Tommy, sets out to try to discover what is the secret of Origami Yoda. How is he able to know, if Dwight's really just making up all this stuff, how does he know what to say? And how, is it really magical? Is Yoda really magical? Or is it, how is all this happening? And meanwhile, Dwight, without Yoda, is just a real nerdy character, kind of gross, and he's their friend, but he's like their least favorite friend, and they kind of just put up with him. But then at the same time, when he pulls out Origami Yoda, everything changes, and so it's really cute. Now in Darth Paper Strikes Back, one of the other boys in their friend group decides that he is going to outwit Dwight, and he makes a Darth Vader origami and puts it on his finger, and then begins to have it out with Origami Yoda. And the series of events gets Dwight in trouble, and Dwight is about to be expelled from school. So the other friends, Tommy and some of the other kids, set out to try to help Dwight, and they go before the school board and everything to try to keep Dwight from getting expelled, and try to prove to the school board and the teachers that Dwight should be allowed to stay, and that Origami Yoda is something that helps people, and it goes from there, and it's just a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to more of this series, and I do have 3 more of these books, so I am looking forward to reading them. While The Strange Case of Origami Yoda would count as the first book in a series, for that challenge I listened to The Fifth Wave on audiobook. This is a set of CDs that I got from the library. In fact, they're overdue. I've got to get this taken back today as soon as I film this video. I promised my daughter I would get this done so that we could go see the movie, and then opening night of the movie, she was dying to go, and I just did not feel up to going, so my husband took her. He also listened to this. They have seen the movie, and now she keeps begging me to go again, and for me to take her this time because she wants me to see it. But I did enjoy the book. Really good post-apocalyptic dystopian kind of a story, if you're not familiar with it. For my Fire Color book, which is also a sequel book, I read The Elite by Kiera. In December, I read The Selection, and so I'm happy that I have now read The Elite. Looking forward to reading the next one in the series, which is The One. My daughter Katie has been after me to read these ever since we bought them at the Scholastic Warehouse sale back in May, and I am glad that I finally got it read. So having to read a Fire Color book was a good excuse to get this read, and I really thoroughly enjoyed it. I am starting to get the frustration that some people have with American Singer, because it's like, come on, make up your mind already, quit stringing people along. But it did not diminish my enjoyment of the book. I thoroughly enjoyed this book, and I hope that someone will make a movie of these books. I think they would be really good. And the last challenge was to read a non-novel. I showed this in my Christmas recommendations video. I had not read it at that time, so this was a good excuse to get this read. This is something that's been sitting on our shelves for a few years now. I believe someone gave it to my husband for Christmas, probably someone in his family. I don't know if he ever read it or not, but he probably did. This is The Joy of a Peanuts Christmas, 50 Years of Holiday Comics. And I figured while it was still, right after Christmas, it would be a good time to go ahead and get this read. It is great. The end pages are great. It starts out, it's got a section of, well, there's an introductory section, then it's got the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. The introduction is about Charles Shultz and a little bit of history about him, so I read that as well. Then it starts with the 50s. The 50s look a lot different than the rest. They were changed a good bit after the 50s, the look of the characters, and then after that they start to look like we're used to them looking. But it was a really good book, and I'm glad I read it. So that is what I read for TBR Takedown 3.0. I hope you're having a great day. Read a good book, and God bless you.